Hey guys, welcome back to Big Ed Central. Today we'll talk about 15 NFL players who went crazy. Let's head into it. Number 15, Bronko Nagurski. Bronko Nagurski is an old school football player that played in the 1930s and was so physically dominant that at the fullback position, he oftentimes was far bigger than defensive linemen.
Bronko dragged the NFL out of the back alleys and into the American consciousness because he was so big. He was an enormous man.
Bronko was one of the very first bone-crushing players to ever play the game of football. Number 14, Ronnie Lott. Ronnie Lott may be a nice guy and all, but when he was on the field, he was an extremely angry fellow that wanted to punish anyone that caught a pass. I think that we can all agree that Lott is one of the greatest defensive players to ever play the sport of football, and specifically is the greatest defensive back to ever play. Number 13, Jim Brown. Jim Brown is one of my all-time favorite running backs. Brown ran with so much physicality that he would run through anyone that stood in his way. It was so clear that Brown played with so much anger and passion that he wanted to prove the world that he is one of the greatest running backs in NFL history, and that he is. Number 12, James Harrison. James Harrison certainly plays with anger, but he's just an angry person in general. When Harrison is annihilating opposing quarterbacks or receivers, or if he's being fined or suspended with the NFL, it's like he's never happy. He's just that angry.
You're gonna tackle a grown man? I don't think so.
Who says I have to get paid? Maybe I get to hit another human being just for the pure joy of it.
Number 11, Mike Ditka. We all know Mike Ditka as one of the greatest all-time great head coaches, but he's one of the greatest tight ends to ever play the game. Ditka was the perfect mix of an athletic blocker that could go out and catch the football. He loved blocking and played with so much fire and passion that it was clear that he played with anger in his heart. Number 10, Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor, the greatest defensive player to ever play the game of football. He changed the game with his freakish abilities for a man that size. LT played with so much passion and emotion that his motor would not stop until the final play. He simply wanted every play so bad as if he walked with a giant chip on his shoulder. Number 9, Dick Night Train Lane. I obviously wasn't alive to see Dick Night Train Lane play, but from the film that I have seen, he's one of my all-time favorite players. He was simply that dominant and that scary. Lane put fear into opposing receivers' eyes as he roamed around the secondary in early years of the passing game. I think it's safe to say that Lane is one of the very first bone-cruising defensive backs in NFL history, and he is one individual that I wouldn't want covering me if I was going out for a pass. Number 8, Jack Lambert. Jack Lambert, the face of the steel curtain that is known as the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you're the poster child of the Steelers, then you have to be an incredibly angry and passionate person. Lambert is exactly that. Number 7, Ray Lewis. Just take a look at Ray Lewis's eyes and look how intense he is. Look at his muscles. Listen to him speak. He's very intimidating. Lewis is one of the most passionate players that I have ever seen in my life, and he plays with a real chip on his shoulder and has a swagger like he wants to prove himself to the world. Number 6, Conrad Dobler. Conrad Dobler is one of the dirtiest players in NFL history. He simply wanted to injure anyone that was not on his team. He was that bad. With that being said, that's exactly why Dobler ranks himself so high on this list. He had to be an angry person, right? I think so. Number 5, Deacon Jones. The man that coined the term sack. Deacon Jones, the greatest pass rusher to ever play the game. Have you ever seen a film of Jones? If you haven't, then you really need to check it out. Jones played with so much passion and fire in his heart that he absolutely punished anyone that wasn't wearing the same jersey as him. Number 4, Jack Tatum. Like him or not, you have to admit that Jack Tatum was one incredibly angry person that put fear into opposing players' eyes. Tatum was one of the hardest hitting safeties in NFL history, as he would roam the secondary and look for unfortunate receivers that were in a vulnerable position. Number 3, Mean Joe Green. He wasn't called Mean Joe Green for nothing. He was one mean football player. Green is often referred to as not only the greatest defensive lineman to ever play the game, but actually the greatest defensive player. Personally, I don't think he's the greatest that ever was, but he's right up there. Number 2, Dick Butkus. Just take a look at the picture. Is this man someone you want staring at you across the line of a scrimmage? Absolutely not. Dick Butkus was one angry individual that wanted to beat the snot out of anyone that stood in his way of winning the game. Number 1, Bill Romanowski. How should I describe Bill Romanowski? Well, he was absolutely nuts. He was pretty much insane. Romanowski was a man that you did not want to mess with, as he played with so much intensity, passion, and anger that he would do anything to beat you, even if it meant hurting you. All of Romanowski's passion and emotion turned him to one of the most feared linebackers to ever play the game. This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our videos in the future. Also, watch the 2 videos that are on your screen because I'm sure you'll love them. With that, I'll see you in the next video.